This is Dr. Ken Clark with Purpose Physical Therapy and Wellness, helping time crunch professionals and active adults unlock their full physical potential and get back to living active lifestyles year round here in St. Pete, Florida.
I won't be defined by your dreams, committed to my goals, yeah. Gotta do my own thing, keep up the hustling. I won't be defined by your dreams, committed to my goals, yeah. Gotta do my own thing.
Hi, welcome to Hustleburg. Thank you for sharing your time with us as we chat with entrepreneurs here in St. Petersburg, Florida. We talk about how they got started, how they built their business, and how they serve our community. I'm Brett Bittner, and I'm the host of Hustleburg, and I started Beyond Your Side Hustle because I found that most entrepreneurs lack the time and expertise to build their own digital marketing strategy and still get results. As an entrepreneur here in St. Pete myself, I love meeting and talking with fellow small business owners about what they do and sharing that conversation with you. Now, you may have noticed a few changes with the podcast lately. One of the biggest is that we're now doing video. So if you're only listening to this episode, whether it's on your favorite podcast player, radiostpete.com, or Sunshine 96.7 FM, please know that this episode and all future episodes are available for you to view on YouTube and beyondyoursidehustle.com. Just visit beyondyoursidehustle.com/YouTube to subscribe or to watch your favorite episode of Hustleburg. If you find anything of value in this episode, I encourage you to subscribe. And if you would, also rate and review the episode as well, because it sends us the right signals to know how the conversations add value for you. Finally, if you're interested in being a guest in an upcoming episode and you own a small business here in St. Pete, let us know by visiting beyondyoursidehustle.com/podcast guest. So, Dr. Ken, why are you working with patients to emphasize individualized holistic wellness through physical therapy?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I'll first start, and some of these answers will kind of be a little bit redundant, but it'll make sense because it'll all flow. But before I started my own business, coming out of school, being a physical therapist, I had a couple jobs, in the corporate world, and under most of them are in the insurance-based model of care, right? And so what that kind of looks like is, for most people, they're going to go to the doctor, right, and say if they have some back pain, let's say, because that's pretty common, and they'll go to their doctor, and the doctor will write a prescription that says, hey, go try some physical therapy for your low back pain. We'll have a code to it for X amount of weeks, and for X amount of visits for X amount of weeks, right? And they send you off. And so in the insurance model, when they come into the clinic, we're working on their back, right? They're making some progress. But if they come in and they say, hey man, my back, I'm doing really well. My back's doing great, but man, I really hurt my shoulder. My shoulder's really bothering me. Can we do something about that? And I can't really do anything at that moment. It kind of stinks. And so, I would have to write up a whole new plan of care, have the doctor signed it, send it to the insurance to be able to treat them and their shoulder, which, I quickly learned and realized, man, this just isn't right. This is not, this shouldn't be like this. And that's only one of the reasons why I kind of went off on my own, which we can get into, but the whole wellness aspect, that's in the holistic view, that's treating the person in front of me, right? I don't treat a body part. So I don't treat a low back. I treat the person. And so, now, since I am on my own, it's way more feasible even to be able to do that, for one. And two, it's just the right thing to do, right? If they're going to come in and we're working together, and it's physical therapy, right? They're coming in for some sort of physical rehab or performance. So if they have an issue one day and then it's fine, and then something else comes up, we're going to look at that. Okay. And that's going to include, and it's not even mentioning my 4 pillars of and my approach to practice is, load management, stress management. Are you sleeping well? And are you taking care of your mental health and that sort of thing, and your environmental factors? So that's what I believe healthcare should be about in general. So, and I believe all healthcare should incorporate that wellness aspect to it.
Well, it's interesting. We talk about holistic wellness. We've actually talked about that before in an episode with Dr. Jenna Elwork. She is a psychotherapist that has been on, and that was one of the things that she talked about. It is about treating the whole of the person, not just the aspect that you might specialize in, because there are going to be a lot of factors, physiological, psychological, and environmental, that are going to be affecting your overall health. And if you aren't looking at the whole picture, you're only getting a part. And so you mentioned insurance-based therapy, then that means that you are doing something that's outside your traditional insurance model. So tell me a little bit about what that's like and how it differs from you gave a little bit about how it's going to differ from insurance based, but what does it look like for you using a cash based system?
Sure. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And so, with under the insurance model of care, which is, what we're used to, it's like what's embedded in society. There's so many restrictions and limitations that are placed upon clinicians and healthcare providers, and especially, I mean, I can only speak for physical therapists, but I got really tired of uh, being told what the client in front of me needed by some third party person that was paying, and telling me what I can and can't do with this person, or what they needed and what they didn't need. And so branching out onto my own in this out of network fashion cash base, and I work for the client. I work for the person in
Right.
front of me. I don't work for the insurance company. Like I'm here trying to, solve complex problems and work for this person that is seeking my help. And I don't have to worry about, the restrictions and the limitations that I'm bound to by the insurance. So that's what's so freeing and liberating. And once when people can see that, it's just like they have a stake and they have some skin in the game, really, for into their health. And so it just makes it, I feel like, a little bit all the more meaningful and
Okay.
impactful, the care that is given and provided. And so that's the big difference there.
So, how do you go about creating a unique, results driven physical therapy plan for the patients that are coming to see you? What does that process look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. First, foremost, I'm all about the community. This is one of the things that led me to St. Pete, as I love the support for everything else that St. Pete has to offer, but all the support that it has for small business owners. And it's kind of the fabric of what the city is about too, is keeping it local, right? And so that's what I'm all about. And I'd love, one day for purpose to be an integral part uh, to that in St. Pete, as far as the health, wellness, and rehab side of things goes, for a long time. And I think the key to that is just relationship building, and that's
Okay.
how I approach my my practice too with clients. And so I find, if I'm talking more than the client in front of me, then that's a little bit of a red flag, right? So the first part of that question that you asked, Brett, is, it's listening to that client that's in front of me. That's the most important, is hearing their story. Where are they? Why are they coming to me? Where have they been? And figuring out where they are now, where they want to be, and helping bridge that gap between those two. And so the way I do that is, I try to be, and as I mentioned before, it's just me. I'm the only therapist right now with purpose, but I try to be somebody that's using, to the best of their ability, science-based, evidence-based approaches to their care, and just doing away with the outdated cookie cutter protocol style of therapy that
Okay.
is so embedded in the society. It's not all of them aren't like this, but no two people will have the same exact plan of care
Right.
in my practice because it's unique to that person. So
Okay.
it's all about, like I said, finding where they're at and then finding an entry point to back into whatever it is physically that they're trying to get back into doing. So testing
Okay.
the limits in a safe zone, retesting and challenging a bit to whatever's most appropriate and ethical and evidence-based is what I strive to do. And
Now, who's going to be the person who benefits the most from making these moves, making the right moves as you described them for their health? Who is the person that is really going to be your ideal patient?
Sure, yeah. Well, first, anybody and everybody that decides to make that change and make those steps for their health is going to benefit. But in particular, and this is the type of person and the client that I particularly enjoy working with is those that are in their 30s, right? Approaching their 40s and sometimes even 50s, because it's such a crucial moment in our lives, right? You know, at 30 years old, which is how old I am now.
Okay.
At 30 years old, we start to lose about 3 to 8% of our total muscle mass per decade,
Okay.
and that significantly increases once we get close to 60, right? So it's kind of that sweet spot, right? So it's super important to start making those changes because we got to combat that. We got to kind of slow that process down. We can't 100% prevent it, but if we can get to where we're starting to think about making those changes. I work part-time for a home health agency as well, and I see clients. And in home health, most of the clientele and the patient caseload is elderly, right?
Right.
And a lot of these, some of them are in pretty good shape. You can tell they've taken care of themselves, and there's genetics too. That's another story. But a lot of these people that I work with, they have such a hard time even getting up and down from a chair, you
Right.
know. And so I'm working with them, and I have such a heart for these people. But when I'm working with them, I'm thinking, man, if I can get in front of some people that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and let them know that, hey, if we don't look at this and we don't address this, we're not setting ourselves up for a good life later on, and we're going to have to depend on a lot of people to take care of us. And so that's why I'm passionate about working with these active adults and the weekend warrior type of person is, or those that are in their 30s and 40s that are looking to really make a serious change in their life.
So you mentioned having some previous experience. Was there a catalyst that just kind of made something switch in your brain that said, I need to be doing my own thing with my own practice the way that I know to be best for the people that I'm serving? Kind of give us that lowdown of how your practice came about in that way.
Sure. Yeah, so my background is I played sports my whole life, football particularly and basketball, and
Okay.
and I have an older sister that I'm really close with, and we were always into health and wellness and fitness from very early on. And so when it came down to decide what I want to do in my life, I'm like, well, I like to serve people, I like to help people, and I love health and fitness. And so physical therapy kind of was that, you know, that calling there. And so I was super excited about getting into it. But as I mentioned before, getting into the career after graduation and and then experiencing firsthand some of these difficulties and struggles of the profession and under the current landscape of healthcare, I've always had in my mind that I wanted to do some sort of cash-based thing on the side. I had a clinical mentor in school at one of my clinical rotations or
Uh-huh.
internships, and this person had their own business on the side, and then they eventually left while I was there to go full time with that.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so I always had that in my mind. I wanted to do something like that, and for the longest time, I was just scared. I was scared to take that leap. And then last year in the summer, it's just, I just kept thinking about it, and I was kind of reevaluating some things in my life, and, am I making a difference in my patients' lives, and am I happy? And do I want to, what's the growth potential here for me? I don't really want to climb up the corporate ladder here
Sure.
and not really making an impact in the patients as much as I want to. And so, it was just a matter of getting to a point where it's like, I got to make a decision now. Like, do I want to look back in 10 years and say, man, I wish I would have done this? And
Right.
so I did. I just made a decision, and that was it. And my my now wife, was then fiance at the time, was super supportive,
Awesome.
and and that really helped me. And so it was at that point that I'm like, I'm gonna do this. This is the right time, and I'm gonna go all in with it.
So what type of
So
a
I did.
background do you have from an education and experience perspective? And is there any sort of like specialization or expertise that you hold that maybe another physical therapist might not?
Mhm. Yeah, so as mentioned, I played sports growing up. So I went. My undergrad is in exercise science. So I have an
Okay.
exercise science and a strength and conditioning, I guess you could say, background going into PT school. And
Okay.
so a lot of my approach is from those strength and conditioning and exercise fundamentals, right? Those basics that I.
Okay.
Um, and so there's not a specialty per se. There are things that I love the orthopedic world. So
Okay.
as mentioned before, I'm always striving to. We all have our doctor or our license. We're all doctors of physical therapy, right? So we're
Right.
all credentialed the same, and it's just a matter of well, for me, it's I'm constantly learning. That's I'm always like, if I'm not doing something, if I'm not learning something, then I'm not growing.
Okay.
So for me, I'm always pursuing continuing education. I'm, one of the things that I'm really interested in is learning more about the orthopedic side of things. And so I don't want to be that person that's just gonna, get all the letters behind my name type of thing with all these certifications. But for me, it's you can guarantee that I'm always striving to increase my knowledge base, and I'm always in the research base, improving myself. But I eventually want to get to a point where I can maybe specialize a little bit more into something that it really is, something that's super intriguing to me. But for now, it's anything orthopedically, anything that's orthopedic and pain. And pain's another area where not a lot of people understand, and it's super complex.
Okay.
You hear so often, I'm in pain because of something's torn or something in the body is not right. But it's not that simple. That's only one piece of the puzzle. And
Sure.
so I would say, those two areas, orthopedically, physically, and in that pain science realm is something that I thoroughly enjoy, and I think it's so important. And there's a lot of people that can really benefit from understanding those types of things for their own health.
Now, I've found when I talk to a professional services provider, whether I'm talking to an attorney, another doctor, whether I'm talking to a therapist, that you spend so much of your postgraduate education focused on what you're going to be doing. What resources do you have at your disposal that helps you to build your business? Are there books that you're reading, podcasts that you're listening to? As a lifelong learner, I'm sure that there's something that is helping you grow. Share with us what it is that's helping fuel that entrepreneur within you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first off, a couple of books. I'll just start right off the bat that just kind of helped change my life and has really made me uh, just kind of launched me into this entrepreneurial journey in this business world. But the first one is Outwitting the Devil by
Okay.
Napoleon Hill. Uh, Excellent. That book just changed the way I think. The second, and for those that are in business, I think this one is an amazing book. It's called The E Myth.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
it's by Michael or Gerber or something like that.
Yep.
Amazing book. And then a third one I would say is Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Okay.
Those three books have been life changing for me. Have literally changed the way I think. But in addition to that, I do listen to podcasts, several entrepreneurial podcasts. One in particular that's kind of helped me get into what I'm doing now as a mobile physical therapist. Um, it it was formerly called Mobile PT Podcast.
Okay.
Uh, it's now called Uncaged Clinician. Great podcast. So
Awesome.
it talks about just being uncaged from the corporate world, and not just physical therapists, but occupational therapists, chiropractors, whatever it be. Yeah, but those are the probably the top that I would say, other than just journal clubs and things of that sort. Uh, Business coaching is also another thing that I've invested in to help me to grow. Right
Sure.
off the bat, I've gotten into. So those are the big ones. So yeah,
So, what is one thing you would like every member of the Hustleburg community to know about physical therapy in general, and what you'd like for them to know about physical therapy with purpose?
sure. Yeah, that's a great question. I'm so glad you asked that. So, physical therapy in general, I don't really like to even market myself as a physical therapist because, and this is probably the organization's job or fault in the physical therapy world is, not a lot of people really understand what a physical therapist does,
Right.
and so it's it's often come across as like a commodity, as like
Okay.
a modality, is something that you try or something that you do, and that's where it's kind of frustrating when, someone says, I tried physical therapy, but it didn't work, right? We,
Ooh,
you know, we
okay.
don't, we don't go to the, we don't go to the doctor, or we don't say, I tried doctoring, I
Right.
tried, it's kind of a, physical therapists are highly trained, licensed healthcare professionals that are have extensive education in uh, you know patient interaction, personal interaction, um, load management, graded exposure, all these types of things, and anything that's neuro physiological. And so one thing I would love for people to know about purpose physical therapy is that, and one of the big reasons why I went off to kind of to build this is that my desire is to bring back true, authentic client provider relationship,
Okay.
right? So I think a lot of people have this fixer mentality or superhero mindset when, most people don't need a superhero or a fixer. They just need an ally. So they
Right.
need, they need an ally. They need somebody to walk with them and be with them on this journey. And so that's what, you know, purpose is all about, is bringing that back and just having that true relationship with the client long term.
Now, a lot of people like to think about uh, things that happen in business as failures. I
Mhm.
prefer to take a different look. I like to think of those as lessons that I've learned about how to not do something. So, what's the most important lesson that you've learned thus far in your entrepreneurial journey?
Oh man, that's that's a lot of them. So, but yeah, I say that too, and that's one thing I've learned on this journey is that, hey, there's no failures in life. There's lessons. There's no losses. There's lessons. And so, you know, for me, something that I've learned and I continue to learn is patience, consistency, and really practicing self discipline.
Okay.
Because if you're working on yourself and you're creating these habits, and that's going to carry over into your business first and foremost. And just in my short journey as a business owner, still in my first year, I've already hit these really highs and lows. And some of these low points you get to, and it's like, man, I really just want to kind of go cry right now and like throw the towel in. And so
Yeah.
there's some days like that. And so I've learned that. always have a why to what I'm
Sure.
doing, and that's what I can always fall back on. In addition to having these disciplines, which for me, it's it's a morning routine, and that might
Okay.
not be for everybody, but for me, when I get myself in the morning, first of all, it's a disciplined practice. But when I get myself in a routine, prepare for the day, I'm actually more energized throughout the
Sure.
day to be able to get things done. So, uh, but I will say one more. One of the biggest lessons that I've learned, and I'm still learning myself, and I'm pretty hard on myself with this, but it's simply you don't get or you can't get what you don't ask for.
Yeah.
I feel like most businesses, most people want to help you. That's
Yes.
just kind of the human nature. And so it's sometimes it's so hard to get that through my own head. But when I say, hey, would you mind meeting me for this or talking about this or doing that? And most people are like, yeah, man, I'd love to do that. Let's do that. And then afterwards, I'm like, that wasn't so hard, you know? And so it's important to give and to be generous, but also not be afraid to ask.
So, how do most of your patients find out about you? What are you doing to market yourself and market purpose outside your traditional physical therapy to make sure that you're getting the clients that are going to benefit the most from what you do?
Yeah, I would say the big thing on my end, what I'm doing is just continuing to build relationships in the community,
Hmm.
and not out of a selfish desire, but really just truly wanting to be a part of the community and to help the community as well. I think that's really key. And but people can find me, and do find me on my socials, particularly Instagram
Okay.
and even my personal Facebook page. I do have a business Facebook page, but I do a lot of my Instagram stuff will kind of go onto that Facebook business page. And but yeah, that's the thing. It's just old school boots on the ground, getting out there and just getting in front of people and saying, hey, this is who I am and this is how I can help and provide value. Uh, those are the big ones, and I'm just kind of starting to dabble with a little bit of ads and things like that. But for the most part, it's just getting out there and letting people know I'm here.
Now, are you a native of St. Pete?
I am not. I'm actually
Okay.
originally from Daytona, Orlando area.
Okay.
I grew up in a town called Deltona, Florida.
Got it.
I stopped telling people that because they're like, "Oh, Daytona." I was like, "No, it's Deltona, but it's close.
Close.
It's
Yeah.
really close to there." But I grew up there, and I went to school in Missouri, did all my school, and then eventually came back to Florida. My best friend and his wife and kids live in St. Pete. We used to come. I used to have an uncle that lived here, and we used to come for spring break, and we fell in love with it. Almost
Awesome.
10 years ago now, and so I've been here in St. Pete for a couple of years now, though.
Now, when you aren't working and serving the community in need of your services, what are your favorite things to do in and around town?
Oh man, number one is fishing. I love to
Okay.
fish. Yeah. Any chance that I get to do some fishing, I'm all there. And that's some freshwater, but I love to do inshore fishing for sure. And just walking around town, downtown, with my wife, and we love to go to a lot of the local shops, indie markets, and things like that. Hanging around at the parks. We do a lot of running at Crescent Lake Park, and even North Shore. But just enjoying the outdoors, going to the beach. But fishing definitely takes the cake for that.
Do you have any favorite local businesses that you like to support that you're going to be seen if you're there? You're there 2, 3, 4 times a week. They're going to find you. Any local businesses like that?
Well, I will say number one is I love to indulge a little bit in some craft beer.
Okay.
So I think if I was there 3 4 times a week, I'd have a problem.
Sure.
But Green Bench Brewing
For
is my
sure.
go-to spot. Love that place. And then a couple other places. Matter of Fact is a clothing store, boutique clothing store that's been to a few times. I think they're
Okay.
amazing. It's so cool. And then I'll give a shout out to Sun State Yoga. Um, and the owner of that business is amazing. It's such a cool place. If you need yoga, go to Sun State Yoga for sure.
Okay.
But I can't forget, actually, my best friend's business, Maintain Digital, and another friend's business, The Legacy Theory. It's they do some digital stuff too as well.
Nice.
Mhm.
Where can people find out more about what you do, what you offer, and connect with you? We're looking for websites, social media, and the like. And for those of you who are listening, don't worry, you can find all of this at beyondyoursidehustle.com/purpose physical therapy. If you are just listening and your player does not support HTML linking, unfortunately, the only way you're going to find it is at that URL, but that's beyondyoursidehustle.com/purpose physical therapy. Take it away, Dr. Ken. Tell us where we can connect with you.
You can go to my website directly at purposephysicaltherapy.com, but you can interact with me on Instagram, especially at Purpose Physical Therapy, and even find me on my personal Facebook page as well.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to share with the Hustleburg community what you're offering and how different you are from what they may have experienced in previous instances where they've needed physical therapy.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed it.
Hey, you did it. You've just listened to Hustleburg. Hustleburg is produced by Beyond Your Side Hustle, where we help you craft an awesome strategy for your business and build a community that supports you today and in the future. We help budding entrepreneurs go beyond their side hustle and into the business they're dreaming of. If we provided you with something valuable with this podcast, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast player, especially you Apple Podcast listeners. This is something that only takes a few seconds that will help us shine the spotlight on all the great businesses St. Pete has to offer and grow our community. Speaking of great businesses here in St. Pete, if you're a small business owner here and you'd like to share the story of your business with the Hustleburg community, please let us know by visiting beyondyoursidehustle.com/podcast guest. Did you know that at Beyond Your Side Hustle, we're helping small business owners reach ideal engagement on any social media platform with a free 3-week training by email? It's available for you at beyondyoursidehustle.com/3 weeks. You can also find a link for it in the show notes. Start right now to learn how you can fix your feed to serve you, start engaging on social the right way, and create a community around you and your business. The opening music in this episode is Defining Your Dreams by my friend Rhymer Educator. I encourage you to check him out on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you listen to great music. Thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to sharing with you how we do business in the Burg.